I'm Cal Newport, and this is the Email Academy. Now, if you're watching this video, that means you pre-ordered my new book, A World Without Email. So thank you for that. I decided when it came time to produce one of these pre-order bonuses that I didn't want to just have some throwaway thing like a book plate that I signed or a PDF with some tips. I figured why not do something really cool? And that's where the idea was born, to do an actual short course where I could walk through in more depth some of the ideas from the book. Now, I'm talking to you today from what looks to be an unnerving amorphous blob, but actually I am in my podcasting studio here in the Deep Work HQ located in Tacoma Park, Maryland. So for those of you who listen to my podcast, Deep Questions, this is what it looks like in the place where I actually record. Now, here's the game plan. In this introductory video, I want to lay out the goal of this course, how it actually complements the book, and then do a brief summary of the lessons that follow so that you know what to expect. Now, my goal of this course is to help you take action on the ideas in the book. So the book has a lot of big ideas. I draw from a lot of different fields. I draw from philosophy. I draw from paleoanthropology, if you can believe it. I draw from neuroscience. I draw from psychology. I draw from organizational management. I draw from many different fields. I make a big argument about how we got to where we are in work today and why this is really a problem on a lot of different levels. I make a case for why we really should think about changing the way we work. And then I lay out a lot of principles for how we might guide those changes. There's no easy one-size-fits-all solution. So I lay out a lot of these I shouldn't say vague, but broad principles that we can apply to try to rebuild our workplaces and rebuild our work lives into something that's more meaningful and something that's more productive. In this course, I want to get right to the heart of the matter. What's the crucial ideas you need to understand to start to make changes, and how do you make those changes? So think about this course as something that you can go through as you read the book. You can do it before you read the book and start taking action, and then the book will help fill in the details, or you can read the book first and then go through the videos of this course to help crystallize how to now take action. However you want to do it is fine, but this is the main point of the Email Academy, is to help you crystallize concrete steps you can take some of these big ideas and start making small steps to make your life better. So there's 5 videos in the course. This is the first. The next video after this is going to be a lesson that I call Productivity Poison. It's where I really am going to get to the core of what is the problem with the way we work today. I want to make sure you really understand what is causing the issues so that you can, like a laser beam, aim at solving those issues as you go forward. You're going to hear about the hyperactive hive mind workflow. You're going to hear about, above all else, the danger of context switching, which is going to be a real villain in my book and a real villain in this course. The lesson after that is going to be about processes. This is the conceptual foundation on which all of my suggested changes is built. We have to understand how we work as a collection of processes. Right now, we tend to implement these processes very haphazardly with just a lot of back and forth unscheduled messaging. But if we can understand them as discrete entities that can be optimized, that there's different ways to implement each of these processes, including ways that don't require nearly as much back and forth messaging, now we can actually start to make some changes. In the industrial sector, this notion of process reengineering is absolute gospel. It grew the size of the industrial sector by 50 times during the 20th century. It's an amazing tool. We have to apply this mindset to knowledge workers. So we'll get into that in that lesson. So once we know what we're trying to do is optimize processes, how do we do it? So the lesson that follows is going to come at different strategies to help you optimize these processes to reduce back and forth messaging. We're going to talk about, I'm looking at my script here, tools you can use like shared task boards. We're going to talk about the power of automation, taking highly replicatable structured activities and figuring out how to automate them so that one step can follow the other. Information can get from here to there without having to have unscheduled messaging. And we'll talk about communication protocols. So having these protocols that require a little bit of work up front, a little bit more effort in the moment, but over time drastically reduce the amount of messaging required to solve common, useful collaboration or coordination activity. So in this lesson, in that lesson number 4, We're really going to get at a sampling of different approaches with case studies for how we can take all these processes that our working life is implicitly made up with and improve each of them to require a lot less of this back and forth messaging. The final, I'm looking at my script here, the final lesson I call employees, executives, entrepreneurs. This is where we go through and talk about, okay, well, how do you actually start taking action? How do you start taking action on identifying these processes and optimizing them based on what your current work situation is? Because it matters. If you're an employee in a large organization, in particular in an organization in which you don't have much autonomy and they don't like Cal Newport and they don't want to hear about attention capital and hive minds and processes and email overload, how can you still start taking action? I'll get into it. What if instead you're an executive or a team leader? So now you maybe you're within a larger organization, but you're in charge of that larger organization, or you're in charge of a large team in an organization. How do you get a whole team on board with going through identifying these processes, optimizing them with tools, automation, and protocols to try to reduce the back and forth messaging? We'll get into it. Finally, what if you're an entrepreneur? What if you run your own business? What if you're a solopreneur or you have just a small number of staff? And so you have not only a lot of control, but you have the capability of actually trying some pretty radical things, right? You only answer to yourself. This is a fantastic situation. You can go to really cool extremes in that situation in terms of taming the hive mind and gaining a lot more happiness and a ton more productivity. It's really cool what you can do if you're in complete control of your working life. So we'll get into that too. So we will break up how you go through my system here based on whether you are an employee, an executive, or an entrepreneur. All right. That is the plan for the Email Academy. All of these ideas are elaborated in great detail in this book, but the next 4 videos that follow will give you that quick jump out of the metaphorical starting block so you can start your sprint towards a much better, much happier, and massively more productive professional life.